let me tell you something to y'all. Listen, if you're a fan of any of the teams in the AFC South, then this episode's for you. Not only do we have a potential Super Bowl contender in this division, but somebody who was a Super Bowl contender, now their stock is unfortunately going down based on some offseason moves they've been making. Stay tuned because you're getting a full breakdown of all 4 teams in the AFC South and all the offseason moves that they've been making. And every team's going to get a grade. Stay tuned.
Time to tune in. Now another sports center. It's a movement.
Next division that we're going to take and cover is going to be the Dirty South, AFC South. They even took and, hey, they got some ballers out there, man. All right, man. What you guys got for me?
All right. So with the AFC South, I am going to start with the Houston Texans, where they drink that dirty Sprite. But obviously they're having a lot of turmoil as a franchise. They have a potentially deviant quarterback who may or may not, like to get massages, maybe innocent till proven guilty. We'll see. But, hopefully they have a happy ending.
Frank Yankers is a great show.
All right. I'm full of them today. But as far as their offseason moves, I think they made some, I wouldn't say like world-beating moves, but they made some good moves. They got Tyrod Taylor in fairly cheap as a quarterback. I think he's, he's a Hokie. So granted, that's my guy, 757 all day. But he's someone that is going to be a really good bridge guy, whether, they get somebody in or use him for the year. I think, barring injury, he's someone that can kind of keep you afloat. He's not going to win you a Super Bowl or anything, but he's not going to lose it either. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think they did really good. They got both Mark Ingram and former Bronco Philip Lindsay. Mm-hmm. So those two are going to make a really good tandem, and that'll in turn help Tyrod as well as they lean more on the ground game. So I think those are two pretty smart signings. They got Shaq Lawson. They got Malik Collins, Christian Kirksey, and Desmond King. So their defense has a little bit of turnover, but those are 4 solid players that, I would not mind bringing into my team. Like I said, I don't think it's going to change the tide. I think they're still going to struggle a bit this season, but I don't see them being like a 3-win team either. I think this helps them to kind of be a middle of the pack type of team. So I gave them a B overall. Because, I like a lot of those signings. I think the Mark Ingram and Philip Lindsay, those were smart, especially not knowing what's going to happen with your superstar quarterback. It's smart to lean on your ground game, get a safe quarterback in Tyrod Taylor too. So yeah, I kind of like what they did there. What are you guys' thoughts?
I like it, man. I definitely feel like, I definitely feel like the Philip Lindsay was a huge pickup. Obviously, I know, Mike, you huge Phil Lindsay fan, but I like that. I like that, man. The dude he could carry a team. Yeah, he was in a 1-2 punch situation in Denver, but he could carry a team. Then you got Mark Ingram, and then you got Tyrod Taylor. So bringing in some older veterans who've been known to make some noise. So I like it. I know they're getting a lot of flack and stuff like that with everything going on with Deshaun, but yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting for sure. What you think, Mike?
Man, I think they did a lot, but nothing that changed their team. Like they didn't make a move that I'm like, yo, they're going to be winning now. You see that? I think again, the Mark Ingram, Phil Lindsay, best thing they did for sure, right? And plus they add that to David Johnson, so their running attack that shows me they're going to be leaning heavily on the run. But everything else, I don't think they signed anybody impact. Like I'd give them, I don't know, like a D plus, maybe a C minus. I don't feel like they moved the needle. I don't think they signed anybody besides those running backs that you're like, man. And Tyrod Taylor, like he's good. He's not going to turn the ball over. If the Deshaun Watson situation, that's a good filler in the middle if he does get traded or if he ends up getting suspended or on the exemption list or whatever. But I feel like that you can never have too good of a backup quarterback. So I think that's a good thing. But they just did a lot. I just think they did a lot, but nothing that moved the needle really.
Yeah, same. I don't, like I said, I think I kind of just see them being middle of the pack, just a team kind of thing. And then, losing Watt as well. That was big. I forgot to mention that. So, I don't know if it's like a net gain. It's just neutral. It's like, all right, cool. That's a team over there that plays in the NFL. Nothing more, nothing less. But going forward, I have the Indianapolis Colts. As we know, Phillip Rivers, he retired with his 764 kids and wife into the sunset.
Be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah, absolutely. The big move that they obviously made this offseason is trading for Carson Wentz. One thing I will say is Carson is coming back with his coach, Frank Reich, who I think can maybe revitalize his career a bit, but that's a big maybe. I don't know how much of his confidence was lost in Philly. He kind of just had the Space Jam syndrome. And they're taking on a pretty big chunk of his contract too. So, I mean, we'll see. It's one of those moves where, if it works out, you just made a great play and shored up your quarterback spot for a number of years. If it doesn't, well, now that's another issue for you to go with. But they didn't really splurge. Besides that, they didn't really go for free agents so much as re-signed a lot of their guys. So they re-signed T.Y. Hilton and Marlon Mack on one-year deals. And then they re-signed Xavier Rhodes on the defensive side of the ball for another 1-year deal. So, I mean, I gave them a C+, but it's conditional. It can be up to an A if Carson balls out like he did, in 2017. If he has that MVP type season he was having, or 2018, one of those years, that you just made a huge play to, give yourself a franchise quarterback. But if he doesn't, then you really just re-signed a couple guys that,
It's another Phillip Rivers situation.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, T.Y. Hilton, if we're getting the T.Y. of, 2-3 seasons ago, that's huge. If it's just regular T.Y. from last year, you know what I mean? That's whatever. Yeah. Marlon Mack coming off a popped Achilles, so hopefully, we'll see if he still has that burst and everything. When he was good, that's over 1,000 yards of all-purpose yards from the line of scrimmage from him. So hopefully, I always want to see people come back from injury, so I'm really, hoping for him to do well. And then Xavier Rhodes had a little bit of a renaissance of a year last year. He used to be a shutdown corner, then he just fell off a cliff. Then he ended up going to the Colts, and he had a pretty decent year last year. So that's something where he's in the same system for another year. So I think that could be really good for him as well. He did pretty well. So we'll see. But like I said, I gave him about a C+. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm right in that area. If I was grading them, I would give them a I give them I give them a B-, a B- at tops. And again, I give him an A. I think you said it perfectly. Yeah, you hit it right out the park with that. As far as Carson Wentz, if he's still the man for the job, he got very sour, getting benched for Jalen Hurts. And granted, Eagles, their organization has really fell apart. Yeah. We're gonna cover them here very soon. But yeah, man. Again, this whole thing, as if he sucks, then we giving him an F. We give him an F. Mm-hmm. What you got? 6 free agent signings of decent players. I mean, But again, that Carson Wentz is going to possibly be a gold mine because he has a team that's arguably possibly better than what he had at Philly. So we'll see what happens. And again, is this going to be a Phillip Rivers situation, or is this going to be, a Carson Wentz 2017 Eagles Super Bowl situation? So exactly. The AFC is popping right now, man. So, we're going to see.
I think they're a quarterback away. So I think reuniting Carson Wentz with Frank Reich, as long as he's healthy, that makes it an A. That'll make it an A. I think he knows the system, he knows the terminology, and literally that team was in my opinion, they were a quarterback away. Tough defense, you know what I'm saying? They have a really tough defense, solid offensive line. They need a few more pieces, but they really left themselves. They put themselves in a situation where they're going to be able to go into the draft and get a few impact players, and their team's going to be good long term. So I liked what they did. I can see the B if Carson Wentz doesn't work out for sure, and you guys are saying hey, we don't know. I just think if he plays 75% as good as he did that Super Bowl year with him as his offensive coordinator, I think they're going to be fine. So I think they had a good thing. And Chris Ballard's probably one of the best GMs drafting consistently. So I think he lined himself up to hit a few home runs. And I think they're going to be a problem in that division.
Okay. Yeah. No, we'll see. They got an interesting situation for sure. So going forward with the Jacksonville Jaguars, shout out Duval County. They're another team. They're another team that kind of, I feel the same way about them that I feel about the Texans. They got a few guys. They got CJ Beathard from San Fran to be the backup quarterback. It's a solid backup quarterback, not somebody I want to run my franchise, but somebody I'm definitely comfortable if my starting quarterback goes down, he can win a few games for you, as he showed that he could do in San Fran a couple years ago. They got running back Carlos Hyde, light-skinned Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, but not really. I think his days are behind him, but I don't think he's trash. I think he's a serviceable backup. Somebody you can put in the rotation. It won't hurt you. Get some yards off him. They signed Marvin Jones from the Bengals, receiver. I thought that was a pretty solid move. You got the number 1 overall pick. You want to definitely surround him with weapons. And I think he's older, but I think he's a solid possession receiver. So we'll see what they add to that in the draft. Maybe the rest of free agency. They already still have Laviska Shenault from University of Colorado, who I thought really started coming on last year as a rookie. So, they got something interesting to work with. Definitely need more, though. Their two bigger moves were they signed Shaquille Griffin, cornerback from Seattle, signed him for 3 years, $44.5 million. I like him as a player. I think he's a solid cornerback. I feel like this was an overpay, but at the same time, the Jags had the money. So it's like, all right, do it if you want, but we'll see how it works out. I don't think it's going to be a bad play for him, but I don't know if he deserved that much money. And then last but not least, they got Rayshawn Jenkins, safety from the Chargers, Los Angeles Chargers, at 4 years for $35 million. Solid, underrated signing, I think. Rayshawn Jenkins has sneakily been solid in the league for the last few seasons. But I think that they'll be pretty good. So I gave them a C overall, because last but not least, I have Rayshawn Jenkins. I think this was a pretty underrated signing because he's been sneakily one of the better safeties in the league. He came over from the LA Chargers. They got him for 4 years, $35 million. So I think that's a pretty solid signing for their defensive back end, along with Shaq Griffin. I think they'll be a pretty good tandem with each other. So, I mean, overall, with this team, granted, they have the number 1 overall pick. So, we'll see how the draft plays out for them. Maybe they, have plans for them for that part of the offseason with Brent or Urban Meyer as coach. So overall, I gave him a C, just a solid C. And I guess we'll see what they do the rest of the offseason with that number 1 pick.
I like that. You was like, I like what you did. You're like, they get a C, so we'll see what they. I see you, Isaac. I see you.
But it's all B's on mine. Don't trip. Nah. But no gang affiliation.
Okay, cuz.
I got the Titans last but not least in the division. They got some signings. They got Josh Reynolds, receiver, coming over from the LA Rams. He's one of those guys that he's like the step above just the guy. You know what I mean? He's not a world beater. He doesn't do anything great, but he does everything good. You know what I mean? He's not super fast, but he's fast enough. He's got pretty solid footwork. He'll move the chains. So I think, for Tannehill, that's a pretty good possession receiver. I think he'll play really well with A.J. Brown. That's a receiver I really like. So we'll see how that goes for them. They re-signed Jayon Brown for 1 year, and I think that was a really good signing because he was one of the better linebackers before he got hurt last year in the league. And he was on the market for a while. I was kind of wanting him in Washington, but he ended up re-signing. So he's betting on himself for this year, I think for $5 million. And we'll see how he plays. Hopefully he stays healthy. And that's somebody that could probably make a lot of money on next year's market, along with the increase in cap too, with all these TV deals. Speaking of which, the next signing here is Bud Dupree. They opened up the Brinks truck for this man. They gave him 5 years for $85 million. And I think something like 63 guaranteed. So
the bag.
on him to make an impact. He's coming off an ACL, but I think, when he's on and healthy, he's one of the best pass rushers in the league. So I think it could work. That's a lot of money for a lot of risk, especially coming off that ACL tear. But, technology is different than it used to be in the past. So he should come back and be, almost himself. And then their last two guys, they shored up their defensive secondary. They got two cornerbacks in Janoris Jenkins and Kevin Johnson. Janoris Jenkins has had some really solid years. He's a little older now, but I still think he's solid. I think that's a pretty good Adoree Jackson replacement. And then Kevin Johnson, he was with the Texans for a while. Solid corner, not a great corner, but, another guy that's not going to lose you a game. He's good depth. So overall, I gave them a B-. The minus just because I'm a little wary of paying people that much money coming off, major injuries. So the Bud Dupree signing is a little iffy, but I do like that the fact that they brought back Jayon Brown. So we'll see, how they go. But that team is already strong, so it's not like they had to go overboard. So I give them a B-, B- range on that. What do you think?
Mike, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I think I can see the B-, C+ somewhere in that range. The Bud Dupree, I feel like they've been so desperate for an edge rusher that they had to pay him. I don't think they had to pay him specifically, but the market, people are making 15 to 7 or about 17 to 20 million for a year. Most of these elite rushers, so I understand them paying him. But Adoree Jackson, I thought they could have brought him back because he signed a pretty relatively affordable deal. So I think if they would have added Janoris Jenkins with Adoree Jackson, that would have improved their secondary. I don't know if their secondary is better. I don't think it's necessarily better. Again, their team is tough. Bud Dupree's a tough player coming from the Steelers down there. And Josh Reynolds for Corey Davis. I feel like that was a trade, essentially. Like, Corey Davis is better than Josh Reynolds. They could have gave Corey Davis one more year or even picked up his option for one more year. But I feel like they didn't do anything flashy. They didn't do anything great. They did address the edge rusher position, but we'll see. I think a C to that B- range is a good range for them.
Yeah.
All right. This is where the podcast gets a little dark. Okay. D+. Let me say why.
Ooh.
This is the same team that took and got Jadeveon Clowney and just let him walk after a year. This is the same team when y'all had some decent receivers. Y'all could have went to a Super Bowl. The Chiefs were super beatable. I know that wasn't just last year, but y'all see where I'm heading with this. They make bad decision after bad decision. The window is so big. The window is so small for a Super Bowl contending team. What the Tennessee? Please, no, I'm not trying to bag on you guys. Y'all deserve better. Listen, throw money at Bud Dupree. Okay, I could see that. He's dope. If I had to pick like a top 7 linebacker core, he in there. He's dope. But you let some really good talent walk. What are you just gonna expect your running back to keep on down the team? And Ryan Tannehill going to take you to the Super Bowl? The AFC is popping this year. I'm looking for teams when I give grades. When I take and I give them grades, what are they going to do to give themselves the edge? Because I'll say this now. Whoever wins the AFC in general is going to probably win the Super Bowl. I'm just going to say it right now because NFC, there's only a few teams in there who are really going to take and contend. AFC, on the other hand, and it's just disappointing, man. You look at Derrick Henry. I would love to see him get a ring one day. Ryan Tannehill used to play for Miami Dolphins, my old squad. I would love to see him get a chip. But these signings, man, like Janoris Jenkins, Kevin, they're good. I'm not saying that they're doing necessarily bad, but I give them a D+ because it's just like y'all could do better. Tennessee's a smaller market, But yeah, that's my take on it, man. I think Bud Dupree's a highlight though of it. So yeah.
So you've been holding that in. All right.
Time to tune in. Now another Sports Center. It's a movement.